Good afternoon. My name is Ola Tamanova, and I want to thank everybody who joins us. The topic of our next briefing is the admission campaign of 2023 and preparation for the new curriculum year. Joining us online is Andrii Vitrenko, First Deputy Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine. Good afternoon, Mr. Andrii. Good afternoon. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Mr. Andrii, so what is the number of graduates in Ukraine and outside of Ukraine who are passing the national multi-subject test? Well, we all know that the main session of the national multi-subject test was going on from 7th to 20th of June, both in Kyiv and both in Ukraine and abroad, in Turkey, Azerbaijan, Canada, United States, and the countries of European Union. There were 20 shifts. 670 examination centers were deployed abroad Ukraine, and 261,825 persons took part in the national multi-subject test. Unfortunately, 728 were not able to pass this test, but 263,000, which amounts to 93%, received a score that allows them to enter the higher educational institutions of Ukraine. So given the average score, can you say that the level of knowledge of our students was improved, or did it decrease? Well, I would not talk about the average score, because in the Ministry of Education we think that this term is not quite correct. It's popular among those who are about to be admitted to the higher educational institutions and among their parents. But this year, the students were allowed to pass the test on mathematics and Ukrainian language, and one subject at their discretion, like foreign language or chemistry or biology. But given the full set depended on the specialty, we have the weighted ratios added to this score. So for the same graduate, the average score for different specialties will be different, So we think it's not quite a correct notion. We don't usually use it, and we don't track such an indicator as the average score. I would like on my end to provide the information about the best and the worst results of the national multi-subject test for the mandatory subjects such as mathematics and Ukrainian language. So 253 graduates were not able to pass the test on Ukrainian language. It's less than 0.1%. So among 260,000, only 253 were unable to pass the test. Meanwhile, the highest score was given to more than 13,000 in mathematics. More than 8,000 graduates received the highest score. So we think that this year, even regardless the most difficult conditions of education, our children, our graduates, have demonstrated the high level of knowledge and the high level of thirst to knowledge. Mr. Andrii, the admission campaign this year, what is it like? What is its specifics? Do we know about the number of our students, those or future students who came back to Ukraine to enter a Ukrainian higher educational institution? Well, this year the peculiarity of the admission campaign is its almost full digitalization. To submit the documents to the higher educational institution, even to pick the specialty, you don't have to show up to the institution. You can do it remotely, so that our applicants feel it most convenient. And given the high level of the mobility of Ukrainian population, we see that this is the efficient tool that can adequately provide for transparent admission campaigns. So talking about the number of people coming back from abroad to enter Ukrainian higher educational institutions, we don't know such number. But the number of applicants who were passing the national multi-subject test this year is bigger than those who graduated from secondary schools, which tells us that our children are coming back. They're coming back to our national education system. And yes, please. Well, talking generally about the admission campaign, what is the dynamic that we expect compared to the previous year? Compared to the previous year, the dynamics is better. There is a bigger number of registered applicants. They do it quicker. Even the digital accounts, the number of such accounts is bigger than the last year this year. So the admission campaign is underway. On the 19th of July, the applications are open for different specialties, and in the beginning of August we will be publishing the list of those who entered the budget-based education. Well, talking about higher educational institutions, do we have any changes in the number of higher educational institutions this year? Well, there are no substantial changes. We are on the way of optimization of higher educational institutions networks. So for the time being, the processes of unifications are being finalized that were started last year. So no, there are no significant changes to the network of educational institutions. The same institutions are taking part in the admission campaign as the last year. Talking about the preparation to the new curriculum year, what are the news there? Can we say now that basically we're planning to have more schools working offline? Obviously, to prepare to the new curriculum year, we draw everyone's attention to a number of things. First of all, it's the security of the participants of the education process. The government allocated 1.5 billion of subsidies for outfitting of the secure environments, educational environments in schools. So we urge all the educational institutions to efficiently prepare for the new curriculum year, to make sure that the more of our children possible come to the schools offline to obtain high quality Ukrainian education. Mr. Andrii, do we understand what is the percentage of our educational institutions that comply with those requirements? Well, we had the figure of 85% of the educational institutions that are equipped with the proper shelters. We monitor those numbers, but talking about the number of schools which are ready to the new curriculum year, we would be able to give those numbers maybe closer to the beginning of the curriculum year, when we will finalize the preparation to the new curriculum year. And this is when we will be ready to provide unbiased, objective information about number of children who would be able to attend schools. Well, for the students who study in the higher educational institutions, is the same algorithm of actions contemplated for them? Do you mean, where are our students of the higher educational institutions going to study offline? Well, depending on the security situation in this or that region, we urge regional administrations and directors of the educational institutions to maximize the offline study, because we need higher skilled specialists in future. And we think that the offline format of training will assist to the best pace of reconstruction of our country after our victory. Thank you. We have questions on the floor. Good afternoon, Natalia Molchanova, Ukrinform. I have a question regarding national multi-subject tests. Now an additional session is underway. So the number of participants of national multi-subject test, does it include those who take part in the additional session, or is it not a final number? Do we expect for the people to finish the testing. No, that's the separate numbers. So, well, what is the number of participants in the additional session of National Multi-Subject Test? And another question is, this year there was a number of reports about copycats, about the multiple number of copying, but when the participants, for example, were passing national overall tests, they were turning in their cell phones. Why is it allowed not to turn in the cell phones during this national multi-subject test session? Are there any measures taken to avoid the copying? And we don't know what will be happening next year. Are there any measures taken by the ministry to avoid such cases, or at least to minimize them? Well, thank you for your question. I want to tell you that faithfulness is the personal feature of every person. If there are such cases, it's a bad situation that should not be repeating itself. It's a whole disgrace talking about people who were having cell phones with them. You know, during national multi-subject test, the use of cell phones is prohibited too, so we will be developing this procedure maybe, or delivering to the specific points of testing. We will draw our conclusions, we will learn our lessons from this situation, but we do our best to make sure that any testing in the Ukrainian higher educational institution is based on faithfulness and transparency, because given the situation in our country, you know, if we copy do the copycat thing during the examination, we don't know then what we're fighting for. And faithfulness is one of the top graces of Ukrainian people. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the information you've just disclosed. Joining us was Andrii Vitrenko, First Deputy Minister of the Education and Science of Ukraine. Our team is working on the schedule for tomorrow, so stay tuned, work together for our victory, and glory to Ukraine.